Wonderful. Thank you very much. So at each board meeting, we try to spotlight one of the college's departments and so that the board gets to know who the team is and hear about what's going on day to day, get to know who's in the departments. Sometimes we get emails and wonder who that is. So hopefully you get to see a face to the name, learn a little bit about them, and learn a bit about what's happening in the department itself. So today we've got Rudra Mukherjee, who's our manager in this department, and I'm going to turn it over to him to introduce the staff from his department. They've got a bit of a PowerPoint prepared. They have been anxiously working on this, anticipating this. So I'm excited to hear what they've got to show us. So Rudra, I'll call you up to the podium maybe. And that's okay. I'll actually turn the camera.
Good morning. Oops. Yeah. Are we good to go? No, yeah, tell me. Good? Yeah, okay. Good morning. In today's presentation, we want to highlight some of the work that the Professional Conduct Department has been doing, particularly towards the attainment of two important strategic plan objectives. That's objective 1.2, which is a reduction in the risk to patients as a result of unauthorized practice, and objective 1.4.1, which is to reduce and shorten ICRC processing timelines. However, before I do that, I want to take a quick moment to introduce the team. I am Rudra Mukherjee. I am the acting manager of professional conduct, and I'm filling in for Raj Bhatti. Along with me is Maria, our investigator, and Tertia, our coordinator. As acting manager, I oversee the processing of complaints and support the ICRC with drafting decisions and making presentations at panel meetings. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Maria and Tertia to introduce themselves.
Thank you for the introduction, Rudra. Good morning, everyone. And as mentioned, so my name is Tertia van Jaarsveld, and I'm the coordinator for the Professional Conduct Department. I have 13 plus years experience as a lawyer, where I managed my own law firm. And I also recently worked at a different health college where I was the case manager for the Investigations and Resolutions Department. In my current role as coordinator, I am responsible for the initial intake of inquiries, complaints, and reports. I also manage the complaint files and provide support during the ICRC meetings. This support includes preparing complaint files, documentation, and summaries for the panel to review, scheduling meetings, and assisting with the drafting of decisions on behalf of the panels. Further, I support the discipline committee. As the main support person, I assist with the administration process of the discipline hearings, including scheduling the hearings, seeking the committee's chair approval for panel composition, and coordinating the hearings itself, while also setting up the meetings virtually and handling exhibits. I will now hand it over to Maria. Thank you.
Thank you, Tertia, and good morning, everyone. My name is Maria Bigos, and I am the college's investigator. I started working with the college in April of 2023. I do have a great deal of experience working in regulation, as before joining the College of Opticians, I spent almost 20 years working in the Complaints and Compliance Department at the Law Society of Ontario. And this is where I handled complaints from the beginning or intake stage to doing early resolutions, interim investigations, and file closures. The types of cases I typically handled related to overall quality of service issues, inappropriate conduct and behavior, and unauthorized practice or holding out. And in addition, I would appear at disciplinary hearings to speak on cases that I had carriage of. And in my current role, I review complaint files to ensure we have gathered all relevant information within an ongoing investigation. I conduct witness interviews with parties involved in this process and manage the college's unauthorized practice program, which I will speak on in much more details shortly. For now, I will turn the presentation over to Rudra and Tertia, who will provide some background information on complaints.
Thank you, Maria. As you likely know, Professional Conduct Department oversees general inquiries, complaints, reports, and discipline hearings. The ICRC reviews investigations compiled by staff. Currently, the committee has 11 members, and they're split into 2 panels. Each panel reviews cases and determines whether the investigation is complete or more information is needed. When panel is ready to dispose of a matter, a written decision is prepared by staff and issued to parties involved. The ICRC has held 3 meetings so far this year, and 1 more is scheduled later in 2 weeks' time. The ICRC has made every effort in 2023 to cut back on processing times, as well as the number of meetings needed to dispose of a case. Typically, the panel will review 4 to 7 cases, and most of the cases will require only 1 meeting, but sometimes they may require 2. I will now turn it over to Maria and Tertia to highlight some of the work that they've been doing towards the attainment of these important strategic objectives.
Thank you, Rudra. Cutting down on complaint processing times is a major goal of the strategic plan objective. It gives me great pleasure to announce that as of right now, the time it takes to process complaints has decreased from 351 days, that's about 11.5 months, in 2022 to 195 days, or about 6.5 months in 2023. That is a decrease of nearly 50%. Our objective is to reduce processing times by a further 5% in 2024. In that regard, I'm happy to report that the ICRC has begun reviewing complaints that were submitted in 2024. 2 complaints from 2024 in the 84th and 65th day of processing has recently been reviewed by Panel 1. Panel 1 made decisions on both these complaints, and we plan to close these files well within the allotted 150 days of processing time by issuing the decisions within 4 to 5 weeks. On June 14, Panel 2 is due to review the 3rd 2024 complaint. This complaint is currently in its 63rd day of processing. Once again, our goal is to close the file well within the 150 days processing guideline and render a decision within 4 to 5 weeks, assuming the ICRC is able to make a decision on this complaint. We have been able to achieve these results by expediting the initial intake process, effectively triaging applications, weekly meetings to review processing strategies, applying appropriate deadlines, anticipating follow-up with parties, presenting completed cases to the panels, and finally, closing the complaints by sending out written decisions in a timely manner. Previously, there had been a lag in between many of these steps, but with the addition of another team member, we have been able to move cases along much smoother. Once a panel has determined the outcome for a case, we are now striving to have that decision sent to the parties 4 to 5 weeks after the panel meeting. This year, we have been able to close 7 complaint files. This is up from 3 since 2023 in the same timeframe. This demonstrates how committed staff are to ensure complaints are not stuck in any of the previous mentioned steps and creating a backlog. When it comes to the types of complaints that we have seen this year versus previous years, we haven't noticed too much of a difference. Professionalism, including communication and behavior, and dispensing issues continue to be the 2 major complaint areas. One area to note is that thus far in 2024, we have not received a complaint regarding billing disparities. As previously mentioned, the ICRC may refer allegations to the discipline committee for a hearing. The college held 1 discipline hearing this year, which resulted in a registrant resigning their certificate of registration with the college. Apart from this hearing, there hasn't been any other discipline matter referred to the committee this year. Thank you very much, and I will now turn it over to Maria to speak about unauthorized practice.
Thanks again, Tertia. As most of you are aware, the college implemented a new unauthorized practice program, or as we like to call it, UAP, as per the 2023 to 2025 Strategic Plan Initiative. This new program was implemented with a goal in mind, which is to reduce the risk to patients due to unauthorized practice. Let me begin by sharing some statistics. As seen in the ICRC report, since the launch of the new program in September 2023, the college has received 20 UAP reports, including 13 from 2023 and 7 in 2024. Following a detailed review, 15 of these reports were closed, including 12 from 23 and 3 from 24. This leaves us with only 5 reports that remain ongoing, and including only 1 report that has thus far resulted in an elevated investigation. The processing time for UAP reports received in 2023 was 102 working days, while reports received in 2024, we are now at 26 working days, the combined average being 86 working days. This is a significant improvement. It's important to emphasize that processing times initially increased when the new program was introduced, and this was because time had to be allotted to smooth out this process. It was very much trial and error, and tweaks proved to be necessary. However, thanks to these tweaks, we have solidified a process that works well and directly correlates with our current processing times. Now, let me talk about strategy. How are we accomplishing this? Our strategy is to tackle the situation immediately before it reaches a point where the matter would need to be escalated further, which could include taking legal action. We make every effort possible to resolve the reports earlier by speaking with the owner or manager of the establishment and requesting further information via a compliance package that is provided to them by the college. Elevated investigations are reserved for extreme examples, including situations where the parties involved are refusing to communicate or cooperate with the college's requests for information. So when addressing these UAP reports, we encounter the following types of responses. While most are complying, we do have people who immediately seek legal guidance and tighten up on sharing information while citing privacy concerns. Most others are very willing to work with us, especially in the multidisciplinary environments, by clarifying roles and expectations. And some go as far as implementing internal policies and even having regular discussions with their staff pertaining to UAP. Lastly, we have some individuals that are in the in-between stage. What that means is that they are just not sure what information they should provide and or will provide and how to go about it. And in those cases, we do our best to continue to communicate thoroughly as many times as necessary while educating the opticians, optical business owners, and other eye care professionals involved about their respective responsibilities and explain to them what it is exactly that we need from them and why. I believe this serves as a great example of regulatory compliance through conversation. So yes, we have changed our tactics. We no longer begin by sending only written communications, and instead, we start processing each report by calling the operator of the store or location involved and communicating what information the college has received. Sending only written communications does not allow for fulsome context and may result in a longer, drawn-out, and expensive process. Introduction or allowance of conversations at the earlier stage has resulted in better compliance. And we believe this process is much more relational and a rider touch approach. What can I say? It's a new world with collaborative models. If we look only 10, 15 years ago, optometrists with delegations and assignments were not part of the equation. However, things are vastly different now and more nuanced. As such, we are collaborating with the College of Optometrists to flesh out advice and guidance they provide to their registrants regarding delegation and assignments. We are also having conversations with their registrants to acknowledge their responsibility for same. In an evolved dispensary environment, this collaboration is often key to obtaining information and successfully resolving UAP reports. Further, we are aware and considerate of the fact that there are some newer players, registrants, business owners in the market right now. And as such, via this new process, it's how we hope to establish some norms regarding expectations and do so early on as they expand their business operations. Therefore, since the dispensing world has evolved, our UAP process has as well, and with just that in mind. Our strategy has been effective, as evidenced by not only statistics, by the positive feedback we have received thus far from optometrists, opticians, business owners, managers, and others involved in this process. However, our objective will be to continue to enhance this new process by educating others and fulfilling our mandate of reducing harm to the public due to unauthorized practice. Thank you, and I will now direct you back to Rudra to conclude this presentation.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Tertia. The department remains focused on protecting the public, striving for a better and consistent complaint timelines, to close more investigations, and then to work with players, as Maria said, in the industry to ease unauthorized practice. That concludes our presentation, and we're happy to take any questions that you may have.
Any questions, please raise your hand. Questions, comments, feedback? Yes, Stephen.
Yeah. I just wanted to say that sitting on the ICRC over the last couple of years, it was identified the backlog at the time because we were a long time getting through and getting to move things along. I want to thank staff for taking our recommendation to address this issue. They did. They brought on extra staff. Obviously, it's worked. And you have to be commended and fine work that you're doing. And I, as committee member, I really appreciate the work you're doing. Thank you very much.
We love
Tanya.
Oh, sorry. That's me.
I just wanted to echo Stephen and say this is really implementing the strategic plan, and it's amazing to see these numbers, and the drop in the timeline for registrants is fabulous. Way to go, conduct team.
Anything else? Yes, Peggy.
I guess that faster turnaround awesome helps everybody do a better job, I think, including us when we're reviewing it. You're not into now a different panel and people have dropped off, and thank you.
Derek.
And I think what I like, I mean, the 50% time savings is a wonderful thing. I know that's been a concern that a few people at this table have echoed over the years, but the fact that it's not stagnant now, you're still trying to improve it even further, which is appreciated, because I know you guys are stuck with certain timelines, so it can only get so efficient, but I'm glad to see you guys are still trying to pick it up as well. So that's actually really a positive going forward. So thank you for that.
Okay.
Thank you.
I don't see any other hands, so you are relieved of your duties.
Thanks.
At least this one. Thank you.
Thanks, team.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks.
Amy, do you mind spinning the camera? Do you mind spinning the camera back?
Right. I'm just going to change the camera back. All right. And now I'll ask Fazal, Registrar and CEO, to present your report.
Okay, so I'm going to present the registrar's report. And so I'll just go through a few of the highlights. As far as government relations, specifically approved and pending regulations, as everybody's aware of around the table, July 1st marks the implementation date for our new registration regulation. So there's been a ton of work at the registration committee level with all the supporting policies here at the board. What's interesting is also way back, maybe 9 years ago, along with the registration reg, we had also submitted the professional misconduct reg. And so we are getting traction there. So the nice thing is that Derek and I signed off on the final copy of the regulation. So it's been turned back to the ministry for the minister's sign off, and the expected, if everything goes well, the expected implementation date is also July 1st for that reg. Now, it's not as far reaching as registration, so we're not going to have as much of a resource draw implementing this, but there will be information that will update our registrants on. So, you know, I think a lot of it is to do with some of the prodding that our government relations company that we have working for us is doing behind the scenes to make sure that our legislation isn't forgotten. There's a lot of stuff in front of the government, but they have been pressing from their end, and I think it's working. And then the one other thing that we've had them flag is that we are still in their hands having the spousal exemption that we've been pushing for. That'll conclude, I think, the updates that we're looking for regulation wise, because they take so long. The spousal is in front of them. I don't think it's that far along, so I don't want to raise any hopes. We are collaborating with members at HPRO, the group of all the regulators, health regulators in Ontario, to see if we can kind of come together with 3 or 4 or 5 of us at a time. I think the government likes processing them in batches, especially because they're very simple and similar. So we are collaborating with our partners there. Exams update. This year, our 2024 was our first session where NACOR was fully administering the exam. So far, so good. We heard from our chief examiner, Peggy Dreyer, who's on staff, and she said that the session went well, provided us with notes, and we will debrief with NACOR prior to the next session. But everything seems to be going fine so far. And it was a relatively good size session. As far as external relations goes, we've been quite busy promoting, especially the registration reg. We've changed focus a little bit because the impacts are so far reaching. We've tailored our presentation as such. So in your package, you'll see all the different things we've been up to. We've been to both Georgian and Seneca talking to their students. We've been to the AOE and the OOA presenting to 300 to 500 opticians at a time. We've done our national meetings recently where we had the chair, vice chair, myself, and Amy in attendance. Exams have just gone by, and we are actually going to Sudbury at the end of the month. We're tag teaming with the association to join them. They're doing a bit of a road show, so they're not only doing Toronto, but they're heading into Sudbury and London. So we'll be going to London in the fall. So we'll be making sure to bring all these update information pieces to the registrants in those areas. As far as collaborative efforts go, I talked about this a little bit yesterday. The college and the College of Opticians, the College of Opticians, which is us, and the optometrists have been collaborating on the Indigenous initiative that we've been doing, talking to the community about what type of challenges they're facing in eye healthcare. The hopes is to create input for our clinical practice committee to see if they can develop a standard of practice around cultural safety and humility. Doing it with the optometrists both helps financially as far as cost savings goes, but also what we're doing is we're approaching the community to talk about their holistic eye experience, starting from an eye exam all the way to dispensing of eyewear. Because optometry also dispenses eyewear, what my hope is that the information that we get from these sessions, both our clinical practice committees will work parallel to develop similar standards because our registrants work with optometrists, they share the act of dispensing, and so hopefully the patients will get a uniform experience. So, you know, work is going well, and I think we're being well received by the community. Eventually, those learnings will help us develop standards that I think are applicable to all equity deserving groups. Finally, as far as a bit more collaboration, we are, I think, having a firm date of October 1st, where the College of Respiratory Therapists will be sharing space with us. So we're working, it'll be a day a week. So they'll be we're here Tuesday, Wednesdays in office. Thursdays, the CRTO will come in. So we're just finalizing contracts and technology and things like that. But that's hopefully their move-in date. So we're looking forward to having them in the premise, getting the best use out of the space, and bringing a little extra revenue to offset our rental expenditure. I'll take questions in just a second. The last thing is in the report, you'll see that we've got elections running in both districts, Districts 2 and District 3. So we are moving the elections to June as per the board discussion earlier. So that is all happening within a few days. The election portal is opening and we'll have results Friday, June 21st. So that is my registrar's report, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Maybe just for clarification, this round of elections has been moved to June. Going forward, there's a discussion for next year, right?
Yes.
Correct. Okay.
Any other questions? Okay.
All right. we'll do that. Okay. So seeing no other questions, we're going to move on to the rest of the reports. Now, I hope everyone's had the opportunity to look at the dashboard and the committee reports. These reports are typically reviewed and approved as a consent agenda item. That means we do not typically go through the reports one by one. We do, however, hope that you've all had a chance to review the reports, and we'll be inviting questions or comments that you might have. But first, I'd like to turn things over to Fazal to share a few highlights from the committee reports.
Thank you. So as Derek has said, we typically vote on all the reports as one item, as an omnibus. I thought it'd be good if we point out a few things or highlights from each of the departments. So we just heard from ICR, so we've got some good information there. From quality assurance, just a little update on some wins and some good highlights. At the end of the year, at the end of the cycle, we had about 658 opticians who had little or no information in their portfolios. As we were approaching January, so those registrants were poked a little bit, and 401 of the 658 have come into alignment. So I think that's quite good. Those that were chosen for an overview of their portfolios, basically 96% of them have received their exit letter. So that was actually a few weeks back. So timings for processing these portfolios is getting faster and faster. So kudos to the department, to our chair, Tanya, well done. Because registrants were typically in the old day not finding out till maybe September or October. So there is rapid processing happening. Julie has become a rock star with it, and Peggy, under your leadership there, I think things are moving really well. So thank you there. And then as far as registration goes, they're under a ton of stress with all the new policies and have been doing a great job in reaching out. We are concerned about registrants who have been suspended over 3 years. A lot of times, as Amy indicated yesterday, they haven't kept up to date with their contact information. So they're not aware that some changes are coming that could impact their registration certificate. Specifically, if you've been suspended over 3 years, you're at the risk of having your certificate revoked. That's a big move. And so we're extending all efforts to reach these people. So there are about 1,700 opticians in that category. And as Anna has reported to me, all of them have been contacted. Whether they've responded is a different story, but we are making multiple efforts throughout this year to get in touch with them. The other thing that was kind of nice is we've been doing some lunch and learn webinars. So the department did one on the inactive class, which is new, and then the currency requirements. And so they were well attended. We typically, if we do a lunch and learn, we might get 20, 25 people online. I think we had 120 plus for each of these events. Wow. So we had good engagement. We had great questions. And I think it speaks to our efforts to make sure that no one is left in the dark or caught off guard. So those are a few highlights. I won't take too much more time, Mr. Chair. If there's any questions, happy to take, but other than that, move on.
Absolutely. Any questions in regards to the reports? Seeing nothing, I'm going to ask for somebody to make the motion to approve all the reports presented, including the NACO report, committee reports, and communications reports as presented. Virginia, I'll let you have this one. Omar, you'll be my seconder. All in favor? Unanimously through. Excellent.
Wonderful. Well, that concludes our agenda for today and our public board meeting. I will now ask Derek to call for a motion to adjourn.
All right, so we're gonna look for somebody to call for a motion to adjourn. Who wants to do it? Henry, as your last, you're gonna adjourn our last meeting for us? Perfect. Seconder, Kevin, all in favor? Perfect. Thank you very much.